The Gator NIL. So Florida Gators, the football team, dropped thegatorsnil.com. And so it kind of raised some eyebrows of like, well, what's happening, right? What does that mean for the collective? Well, from what I'm understanding, this is my consensus of it. I try to dig into it too because I was like, well, are they starting something new? Is this now going to be in direct competition? Because as you guys know, the NIL, they work in partnership with the university, but they're not connected with the university. So what that means is they operate as their own LLC, and they have a partnership with the collective. They are a brand agency for the players. And so with the NIL, obviously they branded themselves as the Gator Collective because everything's going just to Gators, but technically they could help all players. I believe so. Again, I've heard Eddie Rojas talk about it a bunch. It looks like now that the Gators have now launched Gators NIL, which basically now it's all one. It's now one streamlined process versus having to go, through each step. Now, what's great about that is because right now, with the NIL and how it works and the relationship that I've built with them and what I know is like during recruiting and Friday Night Lights, like they could ask questions, they talk to these guys, but they didn't have a direct line. They weren't able to be involved with those conversations. Now, that's probably still true to a certain extent, but now they're going to be, if they're directly associated with the school like this, it's going to change the game massively. And I did some research. I wanted to see because the Gator Collective prides themselves on being early and being ahead of this more than other schools. Like Florida State's not even in the top 5. I looked up an article here on the top ranked NIL organizations thus far, and we rank, let me go ahead and find this here for you guys, sorry. Number 1 is Spirey Sports Group with Tennessee, and I read through all of these guys, the ones that are ahead of us, and they all seem to be acting as their own organization, their own LLC, so they're not correlated with the school like we are now with the Gator Collective, again, which to me I think is the next step. And to be able to kind of finagle things a little bit more into where you're operating within the right realm, right? Because this is where Miami is number 2, but it literally just says John Ruiz. That's their number 2. They don't have a name for it. It says the NIL activity John Ruiz has spearheaded for Miami Athletics. And here's where Miami gets a lot of flack for their NIL situation because they're all functioning through, a third-party company. So Ruiz has allocated $10 million to spend on compensating student athletes because he wants the Hurricanes to win. He's worked to sign more than 110 active Miami athletes to marketing deals to promote 2 of his companies, Life Wallet and Cigarette Racing. So it's a loophole, right? Because he's raising all this money under John Ruiz, and then he's basically just saying, hey, Cigarette so-and-so is going to pay you $1 million, right? And look, that's technically how it's supposed to work, but that's kind of where they're finagling it. I think that's where Miami's getting a lot of flack for, like, hey, they're not doing it the right way. I don't know if you guys remember early on, but when John Ruiz caught out the collective on basically being a fluke, and Florida kind of responded like, F off, and that was kind of it. But that's kind of where I'm getting at with that. The third is the fund by Texas A&M. We know what they were able to do last year. It seems to be almost more of a front than anything because look what's happening. Everybody's leaving now. Again, they're the same type of situation. It's the fund by organizers and donors to the group. It's been operating under the radar since NIL was approved and made the acceptable in Lone Star State. So while other collectives have splashy websites and active social media accounts, the fund operates in obscurity. So no founders are listed anywhere. No annual goals are available. In fact, investors of the fund told Athletic they didn't understand why boosters and other collectives feel the need to advertise their groups. It feels like they're kind of operating a little bit dirty there, but then you got Division Street, Oregon, with who has Phil Knight. That's 4, and we're coming 5th. If you're a Gator fan and you appreciate loving the NIL, that should speak volumes to you. You should be pumped to hear that because let's go over the ones that I just named to you. You got Phil Knight in Oregon. You're competing with a freaking absolute tank in Phil Knight. Okay, then you've got Texas A&M and Oil Money, and they're operating as a very old kind of under the rug type of situation. It's just like it seems fishy, and we saw how it did the first year, but we also saw how kind of flat it is too. It's not a realistic situation. It's just kind of a fugazi. Okay, that's who we're behind right now. Second, we have John Ruiz, which we've starting to see. It's starting to be paper thin as well too. And then you got Tennessee Group, who they landed a nickel, the quarterback, so they seem to be pretty legit and doing well with their NIL group. So we're in a top 5, but in a healthy top 5. And again, we keep looking like we're doing it the right way.